This is Mission Control Houston in the Artemis Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center. At a mission elapsed time of 7 days, 17 hours, 10 minutes, we heard today's wake-up call for the Artemis II crew aboard the Integrity spacecraft, marking the start of Flight Day 9 activities. Today's wake-up music was Lonesome Drifter by Charlie Crockett. Activities today are focused on the crew's daily planning conference that will happen in their post-sleep period. Then they will jump right into the day's activities, which includes studying and preparing for entry and splashdown. Entry is scheduled for a mission elapsed time of 8 days, 22 hours, 15 minutes, followed by splashdown at a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 31 minutes, 49 seconds off the coast of California. They will have a conference with the Orbit 1 flight director to discuss vehicle status, recovery, and weather. The crew will then have their final public affairs event and continue with more entry preparations to reconfigure the cabin and prepare for splashdown. Later today, the second return trajectory correction burn, or RTC-2 burn, is scheduled to take place at a mission elapsed time of 8 days, 4 hours, 18 minutes. This is the second in a trio of return trajectory correction burns that ensure the crew is set up and for a safe splashdown. The last RTC maneuver takes place on Flight Day 10, 5 hours before entry interface, once the crew has begun working through their preparations for coming home. The crew aboard Integrity remain on a free return trajectory as they make their way back to Earth, with splashdown coming up in 1 day, 8 hours, 18 minutes, and counting down. We'll continue to follow operations here in Mission Control. I'm Nilofer Ramji, handing things over now to our Orbit 1 team, which includes Rob Navius, who will take you through the next few hours as we kick off Flight Day 9 of the Artemis II mission.
This is Mission Control Houston at a mission elapsed time of 7 days, 17 hours, 16 minutes into the flight of Integrity on the Artemis II mission around the moon on the eve of the astronauts' homecoming back to Earth. You're looking at a computer-generated visualization of the Orion spacecraft called Integrity, dubbed to that name by the 4 astronauts on board, Commander Reid Weisman, Pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialists Cristine Koch and Jeremy Hansen of the Canadian Space Agency. A number of countdown clocks ticking backward here in the mission control room, known as the White Flight Control Room, the Artemis Flight Control Room, here in Mission Control at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. One of the more significant clocks indicates that we are 8 hours and 13 minutes away from reaching the halfway point of the astronauts' journey back to Earth, which will culminate in a parachute-assisted splashdown in the Pacific off the coast of San Diego on Friday night at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time, some 2.5 hours before sunset. As my colleague Nalofer Ramji just indicated, the entry team of flight controllers is on duty at this hour, led by entry flight director Rick Henfling. You'll be hearing the voice of spacecraft communicator Jackie Mahaffey throughout the course of the day as she discusses all the procedures and conferences that lie ahead on this eve of the astronauts' homecoming to wrap up what will be a mission just over 9 days in duration. The Artemis mission management team is about to convene for its daily meeting. They'll be reviewing spacecraft systems and the latest weather predictions, which are quite good for splashdown for the crew on Friday night, to wrap up what will ultimately be a mission of 694,392 statute miles. That includes that high Earth orbit trajectory that Orion was put in following launch to enable the flight control team and the astronauts to evaluate 24 hours of systems performance before the translunar injection burn that occurred this past Monday that sent the spacecraft en route to the moon for its historic lunar flyby. 694,392 statute miles represents the total distance predicted for this mission by the flight dynamics officer here in Mission Control, and that includes the total distance between launch and splashdown. The weather forecast is essentially unchanged from what you heard in our mission status briefing yesterday. We are expecting, assuming an on-target splashdown for integrity, for winds to be out of the southwest, somewhat less than 10 knots, wave heights around 4 feet, generally essential and ideal conditions for the recovery operations that will follow the parachute-assisted splashdown for the vehicle and its 4 occupants. There will be a number of entry preparation activities throughout the course of the day. Later this afternoon, there will be a conference between the flight director, Rick Henfling, and the crew to talk about entry procedures. The crew will receive from the flight dynamics officer what is called an entry pad. That is a sheet that contains all of the pertinent statistics for all the burns that will occur on Friday, leading up to the separation of integrity from the European service module prior to its entrance into the Earth's atmosphere on Friday evening. That high-speed entry is going to be quite dynamic. It will start at 6:53 p.m. Central Time tomorrow, Friday, with an arrival at entry interface at an altitude of 400,000 feet, with integrity traveling at some 34,882 feet per second. At that point, the range to splashdown will be some 1,700 nautical miles. And shortly thereafter, we will enter a planned 6-minute blackout period where peak heating will occur around the vehicle, and temperatures will increase to some 4,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, creating an ionization. As Integrity's heat shield repels that heat, it will create a plasma shield that will prevent communications between ground controllers here in Mission Control and the vehicle. Once we emerge from that 6-minute blackout period, the vehicle will begin to enter the denser portions of the Earth's atmosphere. We'll conduct a series of roll reversals to bleed off excess speed, with its onboard computers targeting a splashdown at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time, to wrap up this historic mission, flying around the moon and the first crewed mission on the Orion spacecraft. In the field of view from one of the solar array wing cameras on Integrity is the astronauts' destination for tomorrow night. That is planet Earth. It's winking back at you as we approach the halfway mark in this mission back home. And again, we will reach that halfway home mark just 8 hours and 8 minutes from now, around 7:05 p.m. Central Time. If you're wondering why you haven't heard from the crew so far since the wake-up music, that has been planned all along throughout the mission. The wake-up music designed to do just what it is intended to, wake the crew up. They'll be on the Orion to Earth comm loop shortly, talking to flight controllers here in Mission Control in Houston. One programming note, our mission status briefing for the day is scheduled at 2:30 p.m. Central Time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where you'll hear all of the latest information about the status of Integrity Systems and preparations for its splashdown in the Pacific on Friday evening. We'll delve in much more detail about the entry timeline as the day goes along. Out in the Pacific, the recovery ship, the USS John P. Murtha, is moving towards its recovery position off the coast of San Diego, and will be at the ready to begin the recovery of the crew once they splash down. Shortly after splashdown, a series of 5 inflatable airbags called the Crew Module Uprighting System, or CMOOS as you will hear it referred to, they will be inflated with helium and will maintain an upright position for Integrity to facilitate the erection of a large raft called the front porch that will be buttressed alongside the hatch to Integrity to enable Navy divers to open the hatch and extract the crew members so they can be hoisted one by one in alternating fashion into 2 hovering helicopters that will fly then a short distance to the deck of the John P. Murtha, where the crew will leave those helicopters and be brought into medical bay on the ship for post-flight medical exams. The ultimate destination for the crew will be right back here at the Johnson Space Center. They'll be flown back from shore in San Diego to the Johnson Space Center. The exact timing of all that, uncertain. So we'll be updating you on all of that activity after we get past splashdown on Friday night. Once again, Integrity Systems are in great shape, the crew having just been awakened to begin its workday. On the eve of its homecoming, we have just passed 7 days, 17 hours, 25 minutes into the flight of Integrity on the Artemis II mission. This is Mission Control Houston. This is Mission Control Houston, and this morning as we get underway with Flight Day 9 on the Artemis II mission, joining us today, Johnson Space Center Director Vanessa Weich. Vanessa, thanks for being with us today. Center Director Vanessa Weich. Vanessa, thanks for being with us today.
What a phenomenal mission we've been having. So excited to be here.
It is historic in nature. We're about 32 hours until we're expecting the crew to splash down in the Pacific. It is historic to complete her mission. We're about 32 hours until we're expecting the crew to splash down in the Pacific. The history-making aspects of the mission are clearly delineated, but the history-making aspects of the mission are clearly delineated, pulling off here this week and what it means for the future. The significance of what we are pulling off here this week and what it means for the future.
It's hard to describe the significance. Mission. We have building and planning. Our team sources for quite some time. Of this mission. We have building and planning. Spacecraft is managed here at the Johnson Space Center. The Orion spacecraft is managed here at the Johnson Space Center. Vehicle, and it's had a part of the design development. We had our uncrewed Artemis I mission, and it's had milestones along the way. Now we have our uncrewed Artemis I mission. They are demonstrating that spacecraft is ready for us to have humans on board. For us demonstrating that space exploration is which ready we have not for us to have humans on board. For us to continue deep space exploration, which we have not done since 1972. So this is the Artemis generation, and to build from our generation opportunity, but moving to the moon to explore and to build. We're going to learn how to live there. We're going to go to Mars. Moving to the moon, we're now going to have a moon base. It's just amazing for human exploration. We're going to learn how to live there. We're going to go to Mars. It opens up all of the universe. It's just amazing for human exploration.
Of Artemis II, and one of the building blocks in the International Space Station Flight Control Room people may have forgotten about this week in the glow of Artemis 25 years. Is just down the hall. The integration, the synergy, Flight Control Room between the ISS Flight Control Room, this Flight Control Room, all of the programs that are building blocks. What is that integration, the synergy, if you will,
this place is
between the ISS Flight Control Room, this Flight Control Room, all of the programs that are building blocks?
That is in
what
low
does that
Earth orbit
say to you?
And one that is in deep space. This place is buzzing. Mission control right now, we are controlling a spacecraft that is in low Earth orbit and one that is in deep space that's hurling its way back to Earth. Allows us, it enables what we can do in deep space. The systems that we're using for our environmental control systems on board Orion are building blocks from what we have on the blocks from what we have on the International Space Station. It's just, for us right here at the Johnson Space Center right now, this is an amazing time, and I'm so proud. I'm so proud of all of the teams, the flight controllers in this room and the flight controllers. And we are preparing for the International Space Station itself. They have a big dynamic operation coming up very soon. And all of that is happening all at the same time, and we're making it happen.
We've had a continuous, I joke with people sometimes for over 25 years. The significance of the IQ integration, the synergy, if you will, this room and the ISS room, the ISS Flight Control Room, this Flight Control Room, all of the programs that are building blocks have tremendous training. Sadie, how does
Rob,
the
this
Johnson
place
Space
is
Center
buzzing.
cultivate
Mission control right
such
now,
a talent
we
force,
are controlling a spacecraft that is in low Earth orbit and one that is in deep space that's hurling its way. You know, Rob, I started my career here at the Johnson Space Center. I've had the opportunity to work with all of our NASA centers, as you said, with the International Space Station, at NASA headquarters. Learning to have but what we do with our individuals here at Johnson is we work in team environments, and we make sure that when an environment, a younger employee comes in, they do on-the-job training. And so everyone is exposed to their position so that they can learn. We nurture, we mentor them so that they are ready. Space. And we do systems that we're using for our environmental organizations, we do that in our science organizations and in our Orion, our building blocks from what we have on the International Space Station. So it's just the one that's for us right here at the Johnson Space Center right now. This is an amazing time. You've had opportunities before you. I'm so proud to train and be ready for that job. Teams, the flight controllers in this room and the flight controllers that are.
How are you going to feel tomorrow when you see Orion under those chutes?
We are preparing for the International Space
Station. You see this crew emerge onto that life raft. It's almost like you've seen it in the movies before, but it's going to be for real on Friday night.
All of that's happening all at the same time. I'll tell you, I was at the launch, and it happened. And the feeling that I had
sometimes about
which was
the significance of the IQ that exists in this room and the ISS room all around the center.
And we
brilliant
lit that
people,
rocket, and it
great
took off,
engineers
and there
who
they
have
went.
tremendous training.
And every sense,
how
every
does the Johnson Space Center cultivate
such
a talent force,
this is what we have been training for. This is what we've been getting ready for.
As we move into a new era of space exploration.
And so when they land, I don't know if I'm going to be able to here at the Johnson Space Center. I've had the opportunity to work with all of our NASA centers. I had an opportunity to be at NASA headquarters. But what we do with our individuals here at Johnson is we work in team environments, and we make sure that when a new or younger employee comes in, they do on-the-job training. Everyone is exposed to their position so that they can learn. We nurture, we mentor them so that they are ready.
Well, we appreciate everything you do for us here,
we
Vanessa,
do that
and
from
we appreciate
our
your time
engineering
today,
organizations,
and certainly looking
science
forward to tomorrow night,
organizations,
that's
and in
for
our
sure.
operations teams.
For sure.
And it's all about
thank you so much,
learning
and
from
thank
the past,
you to our entire
so that
team.
when you're the one that's in the chair, when you're the flight director that's running this room, you've had opportunities before you to be able to train and be ready for that job.
For sure. Everybody wants the magic question. How do you feel? How do you feel on the eve of the astronauts' homecoming? How are you going to feel tomorrow when you see Orion under those chutes, and ultimately when the hatch opens and you see this crew emerge onto that life raft? It's almost like you've seen it in the movies before, but it's going to be for real on Friday night.
Rob, I'll tell you, I was at the launch, and the feeling that I had then, which was really one of, we really have them on board, and we lit that rocket, and it took off, and there they went. And every single moment since, I have been living the dream of this is what we have been training for. This is what we've been getting ready for many years. And so when they land, I don't know if I'm going to be able to contain the pride, the joy, and it's of not just our teams, not just of those astronauts, because they have been doing an amazing job, but it's people all around the world that have contributed to this mission. And so I'm going to have probably, it's going to take me a while to stop smiling. I'm going to tell you that, and get my feet back on the ground.
Well, we appreciate everything you do for us here, Vanessa, and we appreciate your time today, and certainly looking forward to tomorrow night, that's for sure.
For sure, and thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you to our entire team. Everyone, as I said, is just doing a fabulous job. Thank you.
Vanessa Weich, Johnson Space Center Director. It's a busy place for sure. Action just about to get underway aboard Orion for Flight Day 9 on the eve of the astronauts' homecoming on this historic mission. Vanessa Wedge. This is Mission Control Houston, 7 days, 17 hours, 41 minutes into the flight of integrity on the Artemis II mission, the lunar flyby that occurred earlier this week, setting up the orbital mechanics for integrity to splash down off the coast of San Diego on Friday night to complete its mission that will have spanned from launch to splashdown 694,392 statute miles. As you can see in this data-generated visualization, we're just about at the halfway point between the moon and the Earth, halfway home. That halfway point, just 7 hours and 49 minutes away. And the velocity of integrity as it heads back toward Earth will begin to increase dramatically at that point as the tug of Earth's gravity continues to pull at the spacecraft, resulting in a splashdown at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time on Friday evening. This is Mission Control Houston, 7 days, 17 hours, 41 minutes into the flight of integrity on the Artemis II mission, the lunar flyby that occurred earlier this week, setting up the orbital mechanics for integrity to splash down off the coast of San Diego on Friday night to complete its mission that will have spanned from launch to splashdown 694,392 statute miles. As you can see in this data-generated visualization, we're just about at the halfway point between the moon and the Earth, halfway home. That halfway point, just 7 hours and 49 minutes away. And the velocity of integrity as it heads back toward Earth will begin to increase dramatically at that point as the tug of Earth's gravity continues to pull at the spacecraft, resulting in a splashdown at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time on Friday evening.
Houston Integrity for a quick vehicle dynamics question.
Good morning, Reid. We're here. What's your question?
Hey, Jackie. You know in the sim how we get that clicking talk sound?
Did you say clicking prop? P-R-O-P sound? Clock?
No, that like clicking talk, T-O-C-K sound that comes up in the sim. It's like a thunk, 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 and we always wondered if that was in the vehicle. You know the sound I'm talking about?
Yes, we're all smiling down here and nodding.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we have never had that sound on this entire mission until about 1 minute ago, and now it's coming back. So we were just wondering, is there any commanding or anything that is going on that's entry prep related that could be creating that sound?
We might have an idea. Give us 1 minute, and I'll get back to you with an answer.
Okay, it is on it almost sounds like it's right outside the pressure hull on the port side of the vehicle.
Copy, good data. Integrity Houston, for an answer on the sounds. We were just down here checking out your System 1 ammonia, which is on the port side. We think that may be the source, and we are about to uplink some commands to activate System 2 on the starboard side. We will let you know when to expect that activation, and you can let us know what you hear.
Houston, Integrity, for a quick vehicle dynamics question. Okay, that's perfect. And we do see what we suspect are some flakes from that system out the windows.
Good morning, Reid. We're here. What's your question? Houston copies.
Hey, Jackie, you know in the sim how we get that clicking talk sound?
Did you say clicking
Integrity for
prop?
a quick
P-R-O-P
vehicle
sound?
dynamics question.
Clock?
No, that like clicking talk, T-O-C-K
Good morning,
sound
Reid. We're
that
here.
comes
What's your
up
question?
in the sim. It's like a thunk, 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 and we always wondered if that was in the vehicle. How we get that clicking talk sound. You know the sound I'm talking about?
Yes, we're all smiling down here and nodding. Did you say clicking prop? P-R-O-P sound? Clock?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we have never had that sound on this entire mission until about
like
1 minute ago, and now it's coming back. So we're just wondering, is there any commanding or anything that is going on that's entry prep related that could be creating that sound if that was in the vehicle?
We might have an idea. Give us 1 minute, and I'll get back to you with an answer. We're all smiling down here and nodding.
Okay, it is on it almost sounds like it's right we have never had that sound on the mission until about 1 minute ago.
This is Mission Control Houston. That exchange you heard just a moment or two ago between Integrity Commander Reid Weisman and spacecraft communicator Jackie Mahaffey.
We might have an
here
idea.
in Mission
Give us
Control,
1 minute, and I'll get back to you with an answer.
related to some noises that were heard in the vehicle, but they are completely normal. The cycling of ammonia hardware that provides cooling for the spacecraft. No issues whatsoever. Integrity continues to fly smoothly on.
Good data.
Now 145,000 miles from Earth, 131,000 miles from the Moon. Soon to reach the halfway point between the two orbs this evening, about 7 hours and 41 minutes from now.
Integrity Houston, for an answer on the sounds. We were just down here checking out your System 1 ammonia, which is on the port side. We think that may be the source, and we are about to uplink some commands to activate System 2 on the starboard side. We will let you know when to expect that activation, and you can let us know what you hear. For an answer on the sounds. We were just down here checking out your System 1 ammonia, which is on the port side. We think that may be the source, and we are about to uplink some commands to activate System 2 on the starboard side. We will let you know when to expect that activation, and you can let us know what you hear.
Aboard Integrity, the 4 astronauts, Commander Reid Weisman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialists Cristine Koch and Jeremy Hansen are in their post-sleep period, reviewing their morning mail, having an opportunity to get a bite to eat, as they are set up for the day before entry work that lies ahead. That will include stowage preparations, basically keeping the cabin ship shape and putting away all of the items that they have used during the course of the mission. They'll have several hours this afternoon to review entry documents, all of the flight data file documents associated with entry and the procedures that they'll be following for their high-speed return back to Earth on Friday night that will culminate in a splashdown off the coast of San Diego at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. This is Mission Control Houston. That exchange you heard just a moment or two ago between they will have a conference Integrity with, Commander Reid Weisman, Flight Director Judd Freeling, spacecraft communicator Jackie Mahaffey. Judd Freeling was the ascent flight director. He is sitting on console to with the entry flight director Rick Henfling that were heard in the vehicle a bit later today. They are to review completely normal procedures, the cycling of ammonia and the last item of business for the cooling for the spacecraft. Late this evening will be the configuration. No issues whatsoever. Cabin. Integrity continues to fly smoothly on Friday. Everything now 145,000 miles from Earth, trip back to Earth. 131,000 miles from the Moon. Thruster firing to the halfway point between the two orbs. 9:53 p.m. Central Time. About 7 hours and 41 minutes. Return trajectory correction number 2 burn, the RTC-2 burn, an 8-second burn of the thrusters on the European service module that will induce a change in velocity of 4.2 feet per second. This, the next to last major burn of the mission that will fine-tune the trajectory for Integrity so that it hits the sweet spot in the corridor across the Pacific for entry interface, where Integrity will reach the first traces of Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet and begin its high-speed descent back to Earth. From the point at which Integrity reaches entry interface, we're aboard Integrity, the 4 astronauts, Commander Reid Weisman, entry interface and splashdown, and mission specialists Cristine Koch and Jeremy Hansen of the spacecraft in their post-sleep period, reviewing their morning mail, having an opportunity to get a bite to eat as they are set up for the day before entry work that lies ahead. Those numbers could be refined by flight dynamics in real time as we get there tomorrow, basically keeping the cabin ship shape and putting away all of the splashdown velocity that they have used during the course of the mission. Will have slowed. They'll have a mere several hours this afternoon to review entry documents to a series of 11 different flight data file documents associated during the entry and the procedures that they'll be following for their high-speed return back to Earth on Friday night that will culminate in a splashdown off the coast of San Diego. Are forward bay cover parachutes. The forward bay cover, Central Time, is the very top of the spacecraft. Those forward bay cover parachutes are used in conjunction with pyrotechnic thrusters. They will have a conference to ensure the separation of the forward bay cover. Flight Director Judd Freeling that has protected. p.m.
on the
Central
starboard
Time.
Side of the vehicle. We'll
that
be
will be
activating
the
that
return
in just
trajectory
over 1
correction
minute.
number 2 burn, the RTC-2 burn, an 8-second burn of the thrusters on the European service module that will induce a change in velocity of 4.2 feet per second. Mahaffey relaying word up to Jeremy Hansen aboard Integrity that major we're going to be activating that ammonia system will fine-tune in just a short period of time. Integrity that could induce some noises in the cabin, but that is spot in the corridor absolutely across the Pacific for entry interface. Once the forward bay cover parachutes Integrity will reach the first traces of Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet, deployment and begin its high-speed descent back to Earth that are used to slow and stabilize the crew module from the point at which Integrity reaches entry interface for the main parachute deployment that will follow. We're going to have about a 14-minute period and deploy
Jackie, we hear the sound. It is the same as on the port side, now on the starboard side, very distinct.
Houston copies. Thanks for the data.
And Christina Koch confirming that they do hear that sound.
And now that we know, I feel like we've discovered the last thing we need to discover on this spacecraft. This is such a fulfilling feeling.
I guess we'll let you come home now.
Reid Weisman assuring everyone.
And integrity for PCD2 and Victor, the mail sync is complete if you haven't noticed that already, and you can go back into your mail.
Thanks, Jackie. I see it, and it does look good. Appreciate it.
Good to hear, and Victor, we are still getting some of the final ops product updates onto your PCD. For ammonia system 2 on the starboard side of the vehicle, we'll be activating that in just over 1 minute. Let us know what you hear.
Spacecraft communicator Jackie Mahaffey telling Reid Weisman that
Copy that. Jackie, thank you.
some of the other operations products, the ops products, as she indicated, that are being loaded onto their portable computer devices, basically a tablet that they use, where all of the flight data file information and the updated flight notes that are uplinked to the crew can be viewed by the crew during the course of the mission.
Houston, integrity for trash stowage.
Go ahead.
From the Bravo 3 purple CTB.
Jackie, we hear the sound. It is the same as on the port side, now on the starboard side.
We're starting to utilize that for trash for the mission summary. We had 2 items remaining in there, which we are going to pull out, which is the 4 quantity of Orion water bags in a Ziploc, a PWD adapter. And now that we know, I feel like we discovered the last thing we need to discover on this spacecraft, the PWD adapter, although I think that is an empty Ziploc, that last one.
I guess we'll let you come home now. Houston copies. Thanks for helping us track it.
And the post-flight analysis packet is not
and integrity for PCD2 and Victor. The mail sync is complete if you haven't noticed that already, and you can go back into your mail. Copy.
Do you want us to leave all those items in the B3 small CTV, or you want us to pull them out and put them somewhere else? Yeah, I see it, and it does look good. Appreciate it.
Checking. Good to hear, and Victor, we are still getting some of the final ops product updates onto your PCD.
And if it helps make the conversation go faster, we just shoved all those items at the bottom of the Bravo 3 CTB, and we're putting our first trash bag on top, and then we will keep the water catcher items at the very top.
We like that plan.
Again, Jackie Mahaffey, the spacecraft communicator here in Mission Control, seated next to Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling. This is the shift that has replaced the Orbit 1 shift, if you will, that was under the direction of the lead flight director for the mission, Jeff Radigan. Radigan completed his final shift of the mission yesterday. Henfling is in the flight director's chair today, presiding over all of the entry preparations that will set up Integrity for its high-speed return back to Earth on Friday.
Houston, Integrity for trash stowage.
Go ahead.
From the Bravo 3 Purple CTB 10,002, we're starting to utilize that for trash per the mission summary. We had 2 items remaining in there, which we are going to pull out, which is the 4 quantity of Orion water bags in a Ziploc, a PWD adapter, and a post-flight analysis packet and PWD adapter, although I think that is an empty Ziploc, that last one.
Houston copies. Thanks for helping us track it.
And the post-flight analysis packet is not empty. There is a like a water adapter and a water packet in there.
The April 15th tax deadline is coming.
We copy.
Do you want us to leave all those items in the B3 small CTV, or you want us to pull them out and put them somewhere else?
Checking.
And if it helps make the conversation go faster, we just...
This is Mission Control Houston. We are 7 days, 18 hours, 4 minutes into the flight of Integrity on the Artemis II mission. There's been, of course, a lot of interest in the Friday timeline of key events that will unfold throughout the course of the day to bring the astronauts home for their splashdown in the Pacific off the coast of San Diego. So while we have an opportunity here early in the crew's workday, we can run some of that down for you. The crew is scheduled to wake up on Friday at 10:35 a.m. Central Time. This will all be in Central Time. They'll begin a couple of hours later to configure the crew cabin for entry, basically completing some of the work that they'll start later today. A final return trajectory correction burn called the RTC-3 burn that will complete the fine-tuning of our trajectory to hit the proper spot in the corridor, if you will, corridor that's about 475 nautical miles wide across the Pacific from southwest to northeast, with a downtrack distance of some 1,300 nautical miles from the point of entry interface. The
Integrity Houston for stowage.
The corridor that I'm referencing is basically a cone, if you will, that stretches across the Pacific Ocean, that ranges on a distance from the point of entry interface. That's the point where Integrity will reach the first traces of Earth's atmosphere. That downtrack distance ranges from about 1,300 nautical miles to some 1,775 nautical miles from the point of entry interface. And of course, the further down track we go, the closer to the coast of San Diego we will be, and the closest we will be to the recovery ship, the USS John P. Murtha. Here in the flight control room, a round of applause. Rick Henfling, the entry flight director, took a moment to recognize Kelsey Young, the chief science officer for the Artemis II mission, whose guidance in selecting lunar targets has resulted in some of the spectacular photography you've seen. And again, this close-up view of Kelsey Young wrapping up her final shift on console.
A couple of follow-ups for you on some of the items you listed. The post-flight analysis packet, you will use that later today to take a sample. The PWD water adapter can remain in the bag. We don't need that. And the 4 water bags you found are the ones that will go into your seat pouches for entry tomorrow.
Well, I'm really grateful that people were listening and helped us pull those things to the top of that bag. Thank you very much.
Integrity Houston for stowage.
Getting back to our earlier discussion, so if you have a visualization of the Pacific Ocean and a vehicle moving across the Pacific from southwest to northeast, there's a cone that begins at entry interface, the point at which Integrity will reach the first traces of Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet. At that point, the astronauts will feel the first sensation of Earth's gravity since they launched from the Kennedy Space Center back on April 1st. That cone stretches from about 1,300 nautical miles all the way toward the coast of San Diego to a downrange distance from the point of entry interface of 1,775 nautical miles. We want to get to that sweet spot near the coast of San Diego for a bullseye splashdown to put the vehicle, the spacecraft, in close proximity to the USS John P. Murtha. The Murtha will be poised about 3 miles away from the intended splashdown target. Those numbers will be refined as we approach a much closer point towards the entry of Integrity tomorrow, but we are committed, of course, through orbital mechanics, to a splashdown in the Pacific tomorrow at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. If you look back at the translunar injection burn that occurred back on April 2nd, that enabled Integrity's crew to break out of low Earth orbit following 24 hours of a high elliptical orbit around the Earth, that translunar injection burn also served essentially as a deorbit burn. So instead of orbiting around the Earth in low Earth orbit, and you need a braking maneuver to ease out of low Earth orbit and begin the descent back into the Earth's atmosphere, we're using the laws of Johannes Kepler to fly around the moon on a free return trajectory and then come back to Earth.
So to get back to the timeline, on some of the items you listed,
the final major maneuver that will fine-tune our path into that corridor is scheduled at 1:53 p.m. Central Time on Friday. That's the RTC-3 burn, the return trajectory correction number 3 burn.
The 4 water bags you found are the ones that will go into your seat pouches for
NASA
entry
Plus
tomorrow.
coverage That will be SIMO with our 24/7 YouTube coverage that you're enjoying at the moment. Our NASA Plus coverage will begin on Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central Time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. At 6:15 p.m. Central Time on Friday, we'll do a communications handover from the Deep Space Network to the Tracking and Data Relay Satellite System. 18 minutes later, at 6:33 p.m., the first major milestone will be conducted. That will be the pyrotechnic separation between Integrity's crew module and the European service module. In 4 minutes after that, we'll conduct, if it's needed, a so-called raise burn that will tilt the vehicle's aft end up ever so slightly. That's about an 18-second burn using the thrusters on Integrity itself. And that raise burn will fine-tune our corridor trajectory one final time to make sure we're on a true path to splash down where we intend to, as close to the recovery ship as possible. Entry interface is currently scheduled at 6:53 p.m. Central Time. Again, as we've said before, this is the point 400,000 feet above the Earth in which Integrity will be traveling some 34,882 feet per second, with a range to splashdown of some 1,701 nautical miles. Some 20 seconds after entry interface, as fast as we are going, we will encounter a blackout in communications, which is to be expected, about a 6-minute blackout, in which heat around the vehicle will build to some 4,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, creating an ionization as the heat is repelled off of Integrity's heat shield, creating a plasma wake around the vehicle. It will be impossible to communicate with the crew or receive data from Integrity for about a 6-minute period. We should be emerging from that blackout just a few seconds before 7 p.m. Central Time, or about 7 minutes before splashdown. There will be a series of role reversals in which the onboard computers will command Orion to roll to the left, to roll to the right. That is designed to bleed off excess energy and reduce speed naturally as the spacecraft begins its descent into the lower regions of the Earth's atmosphere, with the onboard computers targeting that splashdown off the coast of San Diego. We are expecting the forward bay cover chute deploy to occur at 7:03 and 22 seconds p.m. Central Time, followed by the deployment of the drogue chutes just seconds later, and the deployment of the main chutes at 7:04 and 44 seconds p.m. Central Time, which will be about 2.5 minutes before splashdown in the Pacific. We'll continue to update you with those numbers as the day goes along, and of course again tomorrow, but that is a snapshot of the entry profile for Integrity that will bring the Artemis II mission to a conclusion. Copy. This is Mission Control Houston at a mission elapsed time of 7 days, 18 hours, 41 minutes into the flight of integrity on the Artemis II mission. All quiet here in the Mission Control Room, the Artemis Flight Control Room, also known as the White Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. Integrity's 4 astronauts, Commander Reid Weisman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialists Cristine Koch and Jeremy Hansen, have been awake for the better part of an hour and a half now as they finish their post-sleep period, reviewing their morning mail and all of the procedures that will govern their work on this 9th day of the mission and on the eve of their homecoming back to the Earth that you see in the field of view from one of the solar array wing cameras on Integrity. Integrity systems continue to function in great fashion. No significant issues being worked by the flight control team here in Mission Control. This is a day in which the crew will begin to pack up their crew cabin and spend time both with Flight Director Rick Henfling this afternoon, as well as themselves reviewing all of their flight data file procedures that will be part of the entry timeline on Friday. The mission status briefing for today is about 2 hours away at 2:30 p.m. Central Time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, at which point you'll get all of the latest information on preparations for Integrity's homecoming and the completion of this historic lunar flyby mission tomorrow. Out in the Pacific, which is the port of call for Integrity for its splashdown at 7:07 p.m. Central Time Friday night, the USS John P. Murtha, which is the recovery ship, is in position, ready to begin recovery operations on Friday to extract the 4 crew members from Integrity, hoist them into a pair of Navy helicopters, fly them back to the ship, where they'll go into medical bay, for routine post-flight medical exams. That will precede a flight back to shore and ultimately a flight back to the Johnson Space Center in Houston. There have been questions about the order of extraction from the vehicle once we have splashdown and once we are in a stable 1 or upright configuration to enable the fast boats and the Navy divers to approach the spacecraft for the opening of the hatch to Integrity. The order of extraction, according to the latest information we've received from the ship, Cristine Koch will be first to be extracted from Integrity, followed by Victor Glover, then Jeremy Hansen, and the commander of Integrity, Reid Weisman, will be the last to leave the ship onto a big raft that will be erected right next to the hatchway to Integrity called the front porch. There will be a period in which Navy divers and medical personnel will have a chance to check out the crew before they're hoisted one by one in sequential fashion to the helicopters. Cristine Koch will be first to be hoisted into helicopter number 1, Jeremy Hansen into helicopter number 2, Victor Glover into helicopter number 1, and Reid Weisman into helicopter number 2. So Koch and Glover will have a short ride then back to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha. Jeremy Hansen will accompany Reid Weisman on the second helicopter for a short trip back to the deck of the ship. We mentioned it earlier, but with this beautiful view of the Earth growing larger and larger in the field of view, it's worth mentioning again that we are about 6 hours and 44 minutes away from reaching the halfway point between the Earth and the Moon on the journey back to our planet. The acceleration of the velocity of integrity heading back to Earth will increase substantially after we cross that halfway point, although we left the lunar sphere of influence on the day after our lunar flyby. The mission management team meeting today reviewed the weather at the splashdown site, which is off the coast of San Diego. No significant change from what you heard yesterday from Rick Henfling, the entry flight director, in our briefing. We will be reprising all of that information in the upcoming briefing in 2 hours at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. We're expecting at the splashdown site southwest winds at about 10 knots, wave heights of about 4 feet, actually somewhat less than 4 feet. It should be very gentle conditions. 2.5 hours before sunset is the splashdown time off the coast of California. So the models have come into agreement regarding splashdown weather. And although we are committed to an entry and splashdown in the Pacific on Friday night due to orbital mechanics, it appears as if Mother Nature is going to provide rather pristine conditions for splashdown as well as the recovery of the crew. As part of the pre-entry procedures being worked by the flight control team here in Mission Control is the warm-up of heaters for the reaction control system thrusters on integrity. Those will be employed following the separation of the crew module from the European service module on Friday. And those thrusters will be used for what is expected to be the crew module raise burn. The raise burn being a slight tilting up of the aft end of the vehicle in a final fine-tuning maneuver for the trajectory of the vehicle as it enters the entry corridor and entry interface, as it is called, where spacecraft will reach the upper reaches of the Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet. As Integrity enters the Earth's atmosphere on Friday, with entry interface, as it is called, at an altitude of 400,000 feet, the vehicle will be traveling some 34,800 feet per second. The forecast peak speed is about Mach 32, some 32 times the speed of sound. There has been a lot discussed about the heat shield on Integrity. The trajectory that we are flying to bring Integrity home is different than what was flown during the Artemis I mission. At that time, we flew a trajectory known as a skip entry, in which we performed an initial dip into the atmosphere to dissipate some energy or speed. Then we lofted or skipped out of the atmosphere, sort of like a rock being thrown against a lake. Then we dipped a second and final time into the atmosphere before splashing down in the Pacific Ocean. As part of routine post-flight inspections and video analysis, areas of mechanical char liberation were observed, and that sent the engineers back to the drawing board to try to understand what may have caused that liberation. Here is my brief tutorial on metallurgy. Chemical decomposition of ablative heat shields like the one on Integrity is expected. That mechanical liberation of the char that occurred on Artemis I was somewhat unexpected. Chemical decomposition occurs as heat shield material heats up and decomposes. That's a process called pyrolysis, which generates gases during entry. The generation rate of the gas is a function of the temperature of the heat shield material, which is known as avcoat. As the gases are being generated, a layer of char is forming on the surface of the heat shield. That char is porous. Now, what you want to have happen is for the gases to escape through the pores in the char layer faster than the new gas is generated. On Artemis I, we found through post-flight analysis that the temperature profile experienced by the heat shield was such that that was not happening on areas of the heat shield with less porous areas of avcoat. That resulted in a pressure buildup under the surface of the char layer. When that pressure gets high enough, some portions of the char layer could liberate from the heat shield, and did in the example of Artemis I. So, as a result, NASA gathered experts from across the agency and private industry, including establishing an independent review team to investigate that issue. All parties agreed with the conclusion that we are flying on Artemis II tomorrow a shorter entry trajectory, which will avoid a temperature profile conducive to high rates of gas generation as the avcoat chemically decomposes. Now, you'll want some repelling of the heat, obviously. That's what the function of the heat shield is to repel heat. For Artemis III and beyond, the agency has redesigned the manufacturing process for making the avcoat blocks such that we will have material that starts out more porous and will allow more efficient gas dissipation as the char layer forms. That's a critical feature for long skip entry trajectories returning from the south pole of the moon. The bottom line is that it was proven that the heat shield would have supported a safe entry of astronauts on Artemis I had they been aboard, and we are expecting no significant issues during the high-speed entry and heat buildup around the heat shield on Artemis II and the Integrity spacecraft tomorrow.
Houston, Integrity, just curious if we can start docking camera activity a bit early for charging, not critical.
Good morning, Jeremy. You are go for dock cam.
Okay, good morning to all of you.
And Canadian Space Agency mission specialist Jeremy Hansen aboard Integrity, talking to spacecraft communicator Jackie Mahaffey here on the ground about the start of the crew beginning camera configuration activities, setting up all of the cameras that they will use inside the vehicle during the next 24 hours or so leading up to their return to Earth and their splashdown. Tomorrow, you'll be hearing the voice of Jackie Mahaffey talking to the crew quite frequently during the entry activities. She and the rest of this entry team will be on console tomorrow morning to begin the final shift of the mission that will culminate with a splashdown on that crescent orb you're looking at. That's the good planet Earth Splashdown scheduled at 7:07 Central Time Friday night, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time, 2.5 hours before sunset at the splashdown site.
Houston, Integrity. Just curious if we can start docking camera activity a bit early for charging. Not critical.
Good morning, Jeremy. You are go for duck cam.
Shortly, we'll be moving into what is called the Daily Planning Conference. This is typical on this mission, as well as for the International Space Station missions, twice a day, in which flight controllers convene and have an opportunity to discuss with the crew the forward plan for the day, or in the case of an evening daily planning conference, to review the day's activities and to see what adjustments in the next day's timeline may be required. So we'll be listening here in the next few minutes for the start of the daily planning conference, which should be basically a rundown of the rest of the day's activities for the crew, highlighted by all of the entry preparations that are in store to set the stage for tomorrow's homecoming and the end of this Artemis II mission. We're inside 2 hours from our mission status briefing for the day that's scheduled at 2:30 p.m. Central, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Basically a review of the mission management team discussions from earlier today and another look ahead at the activities that will highlight the rest of the flight of Integrity and its 4 astronauts. At a mission elapsed time of 7 days, 19 hours, and 4 minutes into the flight of Integrity, this is Mission Control Houston.
Integrity Houston, for help with some prop void parameters at your convenience.
Okay, go ahead, Jackie.
Hey, we are starting into some of our preps for tomorrow and want to verify that a couple of voids are in the right config for entry. We'd like help checking them on mes.params. Let me know when you're there.
Okay, Jackie, I'm at mes.params.
We've got 2 voids we'd like you to check. The numbers are 34600 and 34601. You'll enter those one at a time via tab stop 1 and then select Load Void Parameters.
Okay, for void 34600, I get a param toll of +17.0. And the mode is respond.
Jeremy, that's exactly what we were hoping for, and the second item is 34601, and we're looking for the same thing.
Okay, for void 34601, it's in respond, and it has the same value of +17.0.
That is a good config. Thanks for your help, Jeremy.
No problem.
Integrity Houston for help with some prop void parameters at your convenience.
Okay, go ahead, Jackie.
Hey, we are starting into some of our preps for tomorrow and want to verify that a couple of voids are in the right config for entry. We'd like help checking them on mes.params. Let me know when you're there.
Okay, Jackie, I'm at mes.params.
We've got 2 voids we'd like you to check. The numbers are 34600 and 34601. You'll enter those one at a time via tab stop 1 and then select Load Void Parameters.
Okay, for void 34600, I get a param toll of +17.0. And the mode is respond.
Jeremy, that's exactly what we were hoping for, and the second item is 34601, and we're looking for the same thing.
Okay, for void 34601, it's in respond, and it has the same value of +17.0.
That is a good config. Thanks for your help, Jeremy.
No problem.
This is Mission Control Houston. You're looking at a view of the Earth growing larger and larger in the field of view with each passing minute. 6 hours and 13 minutes from now, we will have passed the halfway point on the journey home from the moon for the Artemis astronauts aboard Integrity. With splashdown scheduled one day, 6 hours, 14 minutes from now, at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time on Friday evening. We're just a few minutes away from the daily planning conference between the flight control team here in Mission Control and the crew aboard Integrity, Commander Reid Weisman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialists Cristine Koch and Jeremy Hansen. A quick tag-up in which the flight control team will review the day's work that lies ahead for Integrity's astronauts in their final full day in space. The day's activities for Integrity's astronauts will essentially include a study session in which they'll review their flight data file information about the remaining burns that are scheduled of the thrusters on the vehicle to fine-tune our trajectory for a splashdown in the Pacific on Friday night. The next burn that is scheduled is RTC 2, the return trajectory correction burn, essentially fine-tuning the path of Integrity to meet the corridor that we desire for entry interface and the final transit across the Pacific Ocean from southwest to northeast that will take us to a splashdown point at 7:07 p.m. Central Time on Friday evening. That RTC 2 burn is scheduled at 9:53 p.m. Central Time this evening. It is scheduled to be an 8-second burn with a resulting change in velocity of 4.2 feet per second. On Friday afternoon, there'll be a critical burn called the RTC 3 burn. That is the final major maneuver of this mission. The RTC 3 burn scheduled at 1:53 p.m. Central Time on Friday afternoon. That will be about 4.5 hours before we separate the crew module from the service module and begin the critical activities that will result in entry interface at 6:53 p.m. Central Time on Friday night, reaching an altitude of 400,000 feet above the Pacific Ocean, and will be the true test of integrity as it barrels through the atmosphere, with its peak speed expected to be about Mach 32. Temperatures around the vehicle will build to some 4,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, creating a 6-minute blackout in communications due to the ionization around the vehicle, essentially a plasma field around the vehicle. Once we emerge from the blackout, a series of chutes will be deployed, the key final chute deployment being the main chute deploy at 7:04 p.m. Central Time, and splashdown again scheduled at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 2.5 hours before sunset at the splashdown site, which will be 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. While the focus of attention here in the Artemis Flight Control Room is on the home stretch of the mission for Integrity's astronauts, down the hall in the International Space Station Flight Control Room, the work continues 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, nonstop, with a continuous human presence aboard the International Outpost, having exceeded 25 years this past November. The flight control team that's on console in the International Space Station Flight Control Room is beginning to turn its attention to the scheduled launch of a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station on Saturday morning at 6:41 a.m. Central Time, 7:41 a.m. Eastern Time, to place the Northrop Grumman Cygnus NG-24 cargo craft into orbit on a 2-day journey to reach the International Space Station and to deliver more than 3 tons of food, fuel, and supplies for the Expedition 74 crew aboard the orbital outpost. The launch of the christened SS Steve Nagel Cygnus cargo ship will result in a capture, a robotic capture, with NASA astronauts Jack Hathaway and Chris Williams at the controls of the Canadarm2 robotic arm. That robotic capture on Monday morning is scheduled at 11:50 a.m. Central Time, 12:50 p.m. Eastern Time. NASA Plus will provide coverage of the Falcon 9 launch of the Cygnus spacecraft for Northrop Grumman and the resulting capture of Cygnus and its installation that will occur several hours later. The installation will be covered in a blog, but we will cover the rendezvous and capture in its terminal phase on Monday morning. Again, launch scheduled on Saturday from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station at 6:41 a.m. Central Time, 7:41 a.m. Eastern Time.